Thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. I'll start with just what you told the story of how you moved from Bangladesh to Calcutta. But when you're in Calcutta, what motivated you to kind of just set up a clinic and start the whole Calcutta Rescue organization?
Well, it's the same language basically, Bengali. I mean, they speak Hindi and Urdu, but the main language is Bengali. It's the same illnesses, and in many cases the same people, because they cross the border over from Bangladesh. So I felt it was just moving next door, literally, and that I could continue. I was very interested in continuing to expose the traffic in children from Bangladesh, and so I thought I could do that as well from Calcutta. The government didn't like that in Calcutta, and they didn't like it in Delhi, but I persisted, and I got it out in the open. We got some of those arrested in Bangladesh, and was able to continue, medical work in Calcutta.
One of the things that it seems like everybody here works on a lot is outreach and building relationships with homeless people. And I was wondering if you find any differences with maybe cultural barriers or when you started out in Calcutta.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to take into account the religion that you're dealing with. Is it Muslim? You can't preach family planning very aggressively to Muslim female patients, and you certainly can't to the male patients. It's beginning to change, but a lot of our patients are Muslim because they are second-class citizens. They are a kind of unpopular, in some ways persecuted minority in West Bengal, and with Hindus, they have a kind of misunderstanding of the motivation of many people who are from the West, you see, because they've been, in many cases, educated by Western Christian missionaries, and so they cannot believe that you have this motivation of just helping without any idea of propagating some religion. And they don't take into account people like myself with extremely mixed religious history behind them, incomprehensible to anyone who's a theologian. But they just think that there are secret conversions going on to Christianity because we're giving free medicine. So they don't think that so much with us now, but they certainly believe it about the missionaries of charity, Mother Teresa's mission.
It just came up today, taking a trip to Calcutta or to India in the future. But what kind of things are there right now? I mean, what's going on with Calcutta Rescue?
Are there opportunities for students and for professionals to come study under you and to devote their time?
It's really quite complicated because United States citizens can get a 10-year multiple entry visitor's visa. Now, you're not supposed to work, but the police and the government turn a blind eye. If you're a doctor, qualified doctor, you're not allowed to practice medicine. Medicine there is a closed shop for Indian doctors, you see. So they export Indian doctors all over the world, but we are not supposed to practice. So if you came as a qualified practitioner, you might find it either frustrating or limited. You can find work, and you can find some very interesting cases that you would never see usually in the States. But nurses, the problem with the doctors is that the Indian Medical Association is very keen in keeping it a closed shop. Now the Nursing Association, they don't care. And there's a terrible scarcity of nurses, so they're not going to feel they're going to have to protect themselves from foreign nurses. So the nurses come in, I think they can come in on employment visas now, but when they've been coming in with just 6 months tourist visas, in recent years they haven't got into trouble. There have previously been police have cracked down occasionally, but it's much easier now. People without any specific skill, well, maybe they can find something in our schools or doing, you know, some general help in the clinics. Now we've got different people coming in as administrators. And some of them recently have had very strict rules about not taking people on short term, but I've managed to change that now.
What is the Calcutta rescue approach to outreach and medicine for the underserved? You know, we hear a lot about street medicine and how they do things in Pittsburgh, how they do things in Boston. Everyone has this very similar spirit, but yet when the rubber meets the road is very different. What's the Calcutta rescue way of doing outreach?
Well, our main problem has been that we have to do an awful lot of other work, which isn't street medicine. Right? We have a different form of outreach. We work in the slums rather than, I mean, what you've seen today are slums, okay, but they're temporary because police are coming along or the building contractors are getting pushed out of their locations. But we're working also in settled slums where the people have like some right to be there, and that takes 2 days a week.
How different is treating patients in a settled slum or even in a temporary slum at risk for being washed away by flood or by politics from, say, what people do domestically, taking care of homeless camps near railroad tracks or taking care of people sleeping under bridges?
Well, you see, in an established slum that's been there, you know, for actually generations, the people are more compliant. And when we go into those kind of slums and find serious diseases and refer them to our clinics or take them to a hospital, these people have settled existences, settled jobs, so they stick with their medical care. And the children have access to schools because the parents, the families are there settled in the slums.
One of the, like Trevor was asking you, in Santa Barbara, we have a huge commitment to our students. And what advice can you give them for the next gen? For these are students that are applying to medical school, nursing school, public health school. What advice can you give them about choosing a career, not only in global health, but in underserved medicine? What is the Jack Preger pearls of wisdom on how to overcome adversity and be able to provide care where the need is the greatest, yet the challenges are also the greatest?
Well, I would much encourage them to think about, say, Latin America and also Asia, set their sights on getting a good basis here and full qualification, and the ones that have the ability to really specialize here, and then go out and choose, you know, very carefully where you go so that you can use what training you already have. And like people go out to the missionaries of charity, and sometimes they don't get the scope that they really want and deserve.
Last one for me. What is your hope for the future of street medicine internationally?
Oh, Jim Withers and a few others, you know. And this Dr. O'Connell is in the White House at the moment.
That's a good future for street medicine right there. That's a good start.
I don't know what he's up to with Obama, but let's hope Obama gets in again, you see. No, but these are great characters, and I mean, this is fantastic. 8 years ago, we started with 17 in Pittsburgh, the audience, the congregation, and you know, it's just miraculous what we've done.
What can you tell the students who are, again, that are, given the fact that becoming a physician is such a long, arduous process, what can you tell them to kind of keep that spark alive, to keep them inspired for their 10 years of training? What words of wisdom can you give them?
I mean, if you're talking about the spark of street medicine, you see, to get involved, you see, like they do. Doctors Without Walls will take them on and show them as much clinical medicine as they'll see otherwise, and get the idea of relationships with rapport with the patients, and a complete new understanding, you know, like, I don't know about United States hospitals, but I should imagine it's like the pressure, you know, you've got to complete this course in this time and pass this exam and all the rest of it, and it's clinical, it's not so much doctor-patient, it's like the patient is almost something out of a textbook, and I mean, that's my experience of, I mean, in Ireland it's not so bad, but you have doctors who emphasize the approach that that's the patient and this is me, and it's beginning to change. Like I've just seen in a British medical journal, first thing you should do with most of your patients when you greet them, even if they're in bed, is to shake their hand. And when Princess Diana came to Calcutta, she went to the leprosy hospital, sat on a patient's bed, which nobody had ever done before, and shook what was left of the patient's hand.
That must have been an extraordinary moment of human connectedness.
Caused a sensation in the press, you see. I mean, nobody had gone near a leprosy case. Even like the doctors that I've worked with, the nearest they'll get to that kind of patient is the other end of a stethoscope, you see, you know? And
it seems like a big theme for this symposium has been human contact, human connectedness, that shared space.
Yeah, I mean, I was in one of the poshest streets in London where doctors work, you see, Harley Street. These are the most expensive private consultants. And there was an Irish nurse, Irish people very warm-hearted, and she was treating HIV patients, giving them injections here and here, multiple, to fill out their faces because they have this lipodystrophy, you know, we call it the slims, and they're recognized when they go into a gay bar or something that's one to stay away from, you see. And she had this incredible friendliness towards these patients, you see, all of whom were HIV positive. And each patient, when she was finished, put her arms around them. And I mean, this is incredible for those patients. I mean, you know, if you go to STD, sexually transmitted...
And they don't teach that in medical school. They're not going to teach... When Trevor goes to medical school, they're not going to teach him to hug his patients after they encounter.
Well, God knows what you'll catch, you see. But, you know, you go to a sexually transmitted disease clinic in a UK hospital. I've been out of it a long time, but you would go in and there'd be a hatch, and the hatch would open, you see, and the person behind the hatch wouldn't really see you. You could hear him or her, and he could hear you.
But just kind of examine what needed to be examined and nothing else.
And so, you know, it's a small town, so that you wouldn't be recognised, you know. That's the kind of approach that they had then. This woman in this incredible clinic in Harley Street had a different approach.
Do you have any, as an ambassador from the Calcutta Rescue, and do you have any messages you would give to our homeless friends that we see every day in Santa Barbara?
Yeah, I mean, I would say how fortunate you are to be in Santa Barbara. You know, the incredible thing is that in Calcutta, We have a Salt Lake City, and it's a very affluent suburb. We had a Salt Lake, and we had a chief minister who was keen on development, you see. So he built this beautiful suburb, and we have a Salt Lake City. Now, if the people, I mean, there are no derelicts in Salt Lake City and Calcutta, but if you compare what we have seen here the last couple of days with what we have in Calcutta, they don't know how lucky they are. Yeah. And Santa Barbara is another story entirely.
You're welcome to visit us anytime.
Yeah.
The door is always open.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
It's medicine without doors, I believe.
Open doors all the time
doors,
for
yeah.
friends and colleagues.
Yeah. No.
Thank you so much for
No,
your time. How valuable your time is.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.